Hello, thank you very much for joining. Today, I want to talk about why project delivery is really, really important, way, way beyond what you may know. And it will also help us to review the impact of failed projects on the economy. Let's go. So, what is the learning objective? The learning objective today is to understand why project delivery is important and also to understand why projects fail. Now, there's a group called the Standish Group. They reported that 3.9% of IT projects partially or completely failed. This means 16.1% of those projects are the ones that actually delivered on time and delivered on budget. Now, think on what that means for a moment. What this means, for example, is for every 10 projects, almost nine of them failed. Only one actually succeeded. Now, think about the amount of money that is spent on project. Think about the amount of time, effort, human resources committed to project that totally fail. It's like wasted life, like which is wasting time. So when a project fails, a couple of things happen. Number one, there's no return on investment for the organization or for the person who committed the money to the project. Number two, the gross domestic output, which measures how productive a country is actually affected by the sheer waste that is involved. All right. Okay. Number three is when your project fails consistently, it affects your competitive advantage. This means you are not able to innovate as you should. And when you cannot innovate, growth is always stunted. Number four, there's a delay in your ability to bring the right product to market. Now, in this society, in this economy, in the 21st century where we live in, the faster you can get your product to market, the better it is, more likely for you to make money. All right. The other thing that you can also have here is emotional burnout for project staff. I remember that I've been on project before where it takes 1 year or 2 years for us to get a project done. And after a while, you see people start dreading to come to work because actually, that is not that's not encouraging. And that's why the whole concept of agile as a method of project delivery is quite good because you can deliver small chunks of work as you go along, and that will boost the morale of your project staff. The last thing I want to mention here is that when project when projects fail, it affects the work-life balance. Why? Because people work longer hours, people get stressed out, and what that means essentially is that the productivity of the company ultimately is affected. Now, let's now understand the top factors why projects fails. According to that same Standish Group, there's a couple of things that make a project to fail. Number one, incomplete requirement. The customer gives us a requirement that is what they want, but it's not complete. The other thing is that lack of user involvement. At times you go on a project, they give you a particular project, but the users of the company, they're not really engaged, they're not really involved. So essentially, we try to deliver something for the end user, but they're not really involved in the project. That's crazy, right? So, but we find it happening all over the place. The other thing is lack of resources. Actually, the company asks you to work on a project, but they don't have either the money to fund the project or they don't have the number of people to do the project. So I've been on project before where we literally have to beg for resources to join our project. I keep thinking, but hang on a minute, you knew about this project before you started. Why didn't we adequately resource the project? All right, so that's something else that can happen. Unrealistic expectation is another one. Essentially, this means customer wants to do more than what could be achieved, and they put you under a lot of pressure. Therefore, people start to cut corners. Lack of executive support. Here, what this means is that the higher hierarchy of the company, they actually do not support the project. I know some of this might sound very funny, but these are some of the reasons that we found in the marketplace. Changing requirement and specification. Here, what it means is that constantly the customer is changing the requirement all the time. They bring something for you to do today, you're working on it, to change their mind, and therefore, because they change their mind constantly, you're having to do a lot of rework of the thing you've done before. Lack of planning. Here, it means is that before you start the project, you actually didn't put a proper plan in place. The good book says if anyone wants to build a house, they have to check whether they have enough money to build the house before they build the house. All right. So essentially, because this plan is not there, everything goes wrong. Now, the other thing is that the project can fail because companies suddenly said, we change our mind, we don't need the project again. Again, that's something that I've faced, that I've seen before in my life, my lifetime, my career time. And, I can tell you, there could be good reason for doing that, actually. The other thing is lack of IT management. Okay, here, what it means is that the IT department is not really involved, in this kind of project. Where I'm talking about an IT project now here, the management of the IT department, they're actually not involved in project, which means you don't have the right kind of resource to support you. For example, you might need to get servers installed or some infrastructure set up, but because they're not involved, that did not happen as it should. So it caused a lot of problem. The other last point here is technical illiteracy. The people who are the technical department of the company, they are actually not literate enough to be able to support the project. So you're having to go outside to go and buy resources to come and work on your project. And the time it takes for you to train them, and also the knowledge churn that's leaving your company is sort of creating problems ultimately. So now, as we round up, I want to ask you a question. Think of a recent project that you have been involved with that has failed. Now, remember, a project doesn't have to be something that is so grandiose. It could be planning a holiday that didn't go as planned, or planning a honeymoon, or planning, a wedding anniversary. It could be something like that. Think of a recent project that you have been involved with that failed. Now, based on the factors that we mentioned below, think about, why do you think your own project failed? I want you to take a moment in your notepad, write it down somewhere, and just think about that. Remember, a project can be as small as planning a vacation, running an event campaign, and so on and so forth. All right. Thank you very much for listening. I'll speak to you another time.